Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, red.olaughlin here. Today we are, excuse me. Hi, red.olaughlin here. We're on Talking Heads program on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're also found on YouTube, on Zizzle, on Amazon Fire, on the E360 TV network, many places, live streaming program. Let me go ahead and get my slides lined up here and we can begin. Okay. As that production engineer is loading those up, there we go. Back up one. Okay. The heart of health. When I was looking at what could we add to the program that people have an interest in, well, obviously health is one of them. That's an area that I love to talk about, research, and do things. And so I kind of came up, well, the heart of health. Well, that was focused on the heart, but as I started researching it, it's not an easy topic to research because it's kind of broad, but the search engines want to focus in on healthy heart and not the heart of health. So anyway, been a little bit of difficulty trying to get started on this one because of the choice of the words I use, but I think I've got it down to pretty much now. So that being said, I'm a researcher. I am not a medical, I've never been in the medical profession, never been in the pharmaceutical industry, none of those things I've ever done. I fell in love with chemistry sophomore year in high school. I got a degree in it. Unfortunately, wasn't able to become a chemist because I got an invitation to Vietnam. By the time I got back, totally different world out there. But what I do nowadays is I use my chemistry knowledge to evaluate, to assess chemical reactions that are occurring in the human body at the cellular level. So I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always treat symptoms. So, but the problem with treating symptoms is, let's say that I have high blood pressure and I'm treating the high blood pressure. Well, there's many causes of high blood pressure. I may be able to treat one and effectively control it, but things develop, things get out of hand, other things haven't. I think a lot of problems with Alzheimer's is that they treat one, but there's another 15 ways that Alzheimer's can progress. So I think the same thing is with our health. And so as I'm looking at things, what can we do at the cause level of our body? And most of it's relatively simple. It's our lifestyle. And as always, this presentation is for education and awareness. I wrote a book several years ago called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. And in that book, I talk about longevity. Also talk about brain health and heart health. And a lot of what I'll be talking here today and probably a little bit next week is what details do you need to know in order to improve your heart health? Well, what is the heart of health? Well, health is a result of our lifestyle, our diet, balanced nutrition, exercise. And exercise is more than just going out and running. It can be stretching and balance and a lot of things, endurance, etc. Stress management, something we should be doing several times a day. The quality of our sleep, hydration, electrolytes, all sorts of things. Weight and fat management, getting our annual physical exams done, relationships we have. And the older you get, the more relationships actually have an impact on our health. And a lot more. But the result of this is we want to have good health. I think most of us want that. That's our goal. But we want to be able to do things. If I'm 65, I want to be able to do the stuff I was doing at 35 and 45. If I'm 80, I want to be able to do the stuff I was doing at 50 and 60 without much restriction. There should be no reason I can't do it, but we get into habits and a lot of things happen. I think another reason we want to have health late into our life is we don't want somebody responsible for us. And by that I said, I don't want somebody changing my diaper for the last 5 years of my life. That to me is not a good quality of life. I may be able to live longer, but I'm not enjoying it. But part of our health in our aging process is not only our physical health, but it's the stability of that physical health and our mental health and our emotional health. It's also, I believe, the elimination or minimization of any prescription drugs we're taking. And we want to be able to continue to add value from our lives to our families and friends. So that being said, let's begin a little talk on the heart. It's about the size of two fists put together, sitting right there in our chest. But it's subject to so many different things. And as we go through these, you'll find out that ironically, one or two or three things fix a lot of problems with our heart. So if I want to talk about heart disease, and there are many of them, talk about cholesterol issues, and I think that's a misnomer, because most people, when they hear cholesterol, they're thinking the numbers that they get, but it's really the oxidized cholesterol that our body makes it. We make a lot of cholesterol. Either we eat it as part of our diet, or our bodies produce it if we don't eat it. We are going to have cholesterol, and it's needed in every cell in the body. Hypertension, high blood pressure, insulin, glucose, triglycerides, homocysteine. It's a chemical, very easy to manage, just like CRP, reactive protein. These are two good blood tests. Homocysteine used to be the gold standard for heart health. It's been now replaced by another one, but I find it very valuable to get a homocysteine level check every year. Diet, vitamin D3 levels, vitamin K2 levels. We'll talk about these not today, more than likely. Something that glycation end products, obesity, diabetes, getting the right kinds of blood tests for our cardio system, genetics, peripheral artery disease, toxic exercise, lots and lots and lots of things have some level of impact on our heart. So I will be 78 here literally in about 10 days or so, and somewhere around 71 at an annual physical. And I have not missed an annual physical since 1968. I had 31 years of aviation physicals with the military, with the Navy. And once I got out of the Navy, I continued my annual physicals with my primary care physician. And somewhere around 71, he says, okay, well, why don't we send you over and get you a cardiac baseline? Where are you at today? So if something changes in the future, it's easier to identify what changed. And I did. I passed everything with flying colors. Absolutely easy to do. I had nuclear this, I had stress that, I had the echocardiogram, I had all sorts of stuff done. And so really good results from it. But what we do on a daily basis is our lifestyle. What do we eat? How balanced nutrition is, exercise, stress, all those kinds of things. And if we have a good lifestyle, we generally will have a pretty decent immune system, pretty strong. But our immune system reflects our lifestyle. If I'm obese, I'm diabetic, I have hypertension, I eat a lot of fried foods, I can expect my immune system to start having problems, harder to maintain. So one of the first questions that I think most people should capture is family history. Did your father, your grandfather have any heart problems? Do they have problems with Alzheimer's? Do they have another health issue that you should be aware of? Genetics is there. Yes, we inherit our genes, but a gene is turned on and off like a light switch. And the topic of epigenetics is really our lifestyle. If we're doing the things we need to do on a daily basis to maintain good health, we turn those genes off. Sometimes we turn a gene on because it's a good gene, but our lifestyle controls a lot of the genetic activities in our body. Capture your personal medical history. Way back when I had an umbilical congenital hernia repair. and the doctor thought it was important for me to get done now, and I was in my early 20s, I think, rather than wait. I mean, and ironically, when he said now, it was like next week. But in the meantime, life goes on. But sometimes you have to capture those things because 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you're not going to remember everything that happened. So try to keep your own personal journal of what your medical and health history has been. And if we're talking about heart, do you know what the symptoms are for having an impending heart attack? And does somebody else around you have the ability to administer CPR and get on the phone and get an ambulance to you? Lots and lots of things with regard to heart health, because once that fails, boom, you're not sunk, but you're definitely on your way there. So I thought what we do today is talk about a number of different potential causes and options that we can look at with regard to heart disease. And I picked the top dozen or so. It wasn't any reason to stop. It goes on well after what I'm here, but I think what I'm looking at is what are the main ones. We don't need to get in something that's unique, that's 1 in 5,000 case. We need to get in something that we have friends with these kind of problems. And is there something I can do without my doctor by changing my lifestyle? But before you make any changes at all, once you know you have a problem, always, always, always talk to your doctor and say, hey, I know I'm on this medicine. I know I have this problem, but I seriously want to lose 30 pounds. I just want you to be aware of it. This is what I plan on doing. So keep the professionals in the picture when you're starting to make some changes. Okay, so coronary artery disease. What is it? It's basically a buildup of plaque inside the arteries. Now, this plaque can be oxidized cholesterol, or it can be calcium. The calcium part is relatively easy to control. Cholesterol also relatively easy to control. But other causes of atherosclerosis is hypertension, which is not the easiest thing in the world to control because there's so many different causes of hypertension, high blood pressure. Smoking, we can say stop smoking, but that's a habit that really has hooks into people and very, very difficult to do. Diabetes, treatable. Again, what happens? I just met a guy that I've known now for about 2 years, and he owns a local auto repair shop, and I hadn't been there in a while, and he came out and met me. He had a boot on his foot, and I asked, what's going on? And he said he had 5 toes removed. I said, whoa, what happened? And he said diabetes. I heard about that. He said they wanted to take the leg up above the knee, but they managed to get him into a program where they only took his toes. Diabetes can be a very serious problem, and it requires a lot of attention to maintain. What are our options? Lifestyle changes. Our diet, our exercise, stopping smoking, getting quality sleep, stress reduction. Lots and lots and lots of lifestyle changes that can be effective. And most exercise and diet are probably 2 of the biggest ones. But I can also be put by my doctor on a medication. Lots of them. One of the most common ones is statin drugs. Statin drugs actually stop the production of CoQ10 in the body, ubiquinol. And so your body stops making it. Well, every single cell in your body needs CoQ10. Now all of a sudden, our medication is stopping it. There's actually, I think, a patent for one of the statins that has CoQ10 in it, but they never manufacture the product. They just have the patent on it. But the interesting thing is I've given a lot of my friends articles on statin drugs and CoQ10 and what happens. They've taken it to their doctors and said, hey, and they were able to be placed on a regimen of CoQ10 to help offset what the statins were shutting down. And there's always surgeries. So you're looking from a medical perspective, medications and surgeries. That's the 2. They have a legal and a moral obligation, if they know you have a problem, to treat that problem. Now, if you're saying, okay, doc, I got high blood pressure, I want to see if I can lose some weight and exercise, go for it. But keep them in the loop. Heart attack, typically called myocardial infarction. That happens when we get a blockage inside our blood vessel, inside our heart. That happens, everything could stop right then and there. It's a major problem. Sometimes the clot passes through, sometimes it doesn't, but it could be also the clot is there and it causes the plaque to be pushed against the side of the blood wall. And if you have an aneurysm, weakening on the side, it could open that up. And now you're talking about a major heart attack, stroke, a lot of issues. So what is the options? What are the options? Again, immediate medical attention. If, again, you don't understand the symptoms of heart attack, know them, have them written down, put them by the phone, put them by so somebody else knows. Could be treated sometimes medically, sometimes surgery, stents, bypasses, and other things. But heart attack is probably one of the things that we worry about the most with heart disease. There's another thing called congestive heart failure. I have family and friends that have that or had that, depending on the case. And it's caused by our heart being overworked. We have too much going on. Our heart is beating like crazy, and we are not making any progress. It's beating harder than it needs to. Well, it might be something like that cardiac artery disease we talked about earlier. It might be high blood pressure. Lots of things can cause congestive heart failure. A couple of things they can do is primarily medications. They're talking about diuretics, ACE inhibitors. I think that's an angiotensin, angiotensin something. Brain's not working today. Angiotensin combining enzyme, I believe is what it is. But anyway, it acts as a blood pressure reducer. It allows more flexibility in the blood vessels. Beta blockers, a lot of lifestyle changes can help with congestive heart failure. Always surgeries, and sometimes they have to put in a pacemaker or defibrillate. Lots of things when you start having those kinds of problems. Arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats. Interesting because I have what they call atrial fibrillation, AF. I've had it since the 80s. I can take a look at my EKG. I know it's there. I can see it. I have no feeling of it. I think the first time I ever was really aware of it, I was running a race in New Orleans, and I always measure my pulse as soon as I get done running the race. Well, there was something extra competitive that day. Normally my pulse after a race, a minute after the race, is in the 160s. That day was in the 180s, and it's going boom, 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 miss, boom, 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 miss, boom, 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 miss. So I had a physical coming up, talked to my flight surgeon about it, and he talked about, to me, the electrical properties of the heart and what was happening, and he didn't seem to be too concerned about it, because by the time my heart got down to about 155, everything was fine. But sometimes you overload the heart and the electrons don't know where to go. But the causes are electrolyte imbalance. You're not getting the right molecules to the right places, and sometimes it can be caused by medications. Sometimes it could be a structural heart issue. Might be some other heart conditions that are adding to that problem. Obviously, you're going to see surgery and medications for most of these things. They thought they could fix my atrial fibrillation with cardioversion. Basically, they went in there, they took a look, they went into my heart, took a look at everything, and they found that I had a DIY double bypass. My heart actually grew 2 blood vessels, one around the front, one around the back of the heart, to a blockage on my left anterior descending artery called the widowmaker. 90% of the time, you get that one clogged, you die. Unless you're in a hospital, you're probably going to die. It's that important. Well, my heart grew through 2 new vessels to where the blockage was, and I'm fine. I never even knew it. And he said, I don't need a stent. I don't need anything. Everything's fine. Sometimes they do an ablation where they actually go in there and they deaden certain parts of the heart to restrict some of the electrical impulses that are there. Valvular heart disease, they talk about valve stenosis. That's where you have a thickening of the not like a buildup of plaque on the inside, but an actual thickening of the valves themselves. Sometimes it's congenital. I have a valve that I'm going to say 1 in 10 doctors can hear, and it was pointed out to me years ago, early in my flight. Okay, I can hear this, but most doctors can't. It's that minor. When they did a ultrasound, I could actually see what they were talking about. I could see the little regurgitation back and forth. But again, I've had other doctors and PAs and whatever their ears are not good enough, or their equipment they're using is not good enough to hear it. I know it's there. A lot of times this is caused by age, can be caused by infections. The standard option is do a surgery to repair the valve, do medications, do lifestyle changes. Lots of things that can be done for that. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Hypertrophic, I think, is when you're talking about, let's say that you're lifting weights and you see your muscles getting stronger, bigger. Well, that's good for muscles that we want to have stronger and bigger. But we don't want to have stronger and bigger muscles inside our heart. And that's what's happening is sometimes it's genetic issue, but all of a sudden we start having heart muscles that aren't able to maneuver the way they're supposed to because they're thicker than they were. They don't operate as quickly as they did. They're not as efficient. And so that thickening heart muscle is one of the things that can be a heart disease issue. Medications, the ACEs we talked about earlier, the angiotensin combining enzyme inhibitors, beta blockers, diuretics, lifestyle changes, sometimes a heart transplant. Okay. Aortic aneurysm. Okay, here's the opposite of that hypertrophic. The aneurysm is a weakening in that wall of where we got. So if we're talking about the aorta inside that vein, that artery, is a very weak area that can subject to busting open anytime. So what are the causes? A weakening in the aortic wall that can be caused by hypertension, genetics, atherosclerosis. That's what we talked about very early on, plaque buildup. And it's typically treated with medications, monitoring most of the time. That's what my doctor does every 6 months. They do run another EKG, and yes, I still have AFib. Thank you very much. But the monitoring is for a specific thing. In this particular case, the monitoring would be for that particular aneurysm. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? What's happening? Stay the same. And they can always go in and do a repair or surgery. Pericarditis. Okay, the pericardium is part of the heart, and if you start getting that inflamed, now you're ending up with a heart disease. It can be caused by infections. It can be caused by autoimmune disease. Even sometimes post-surgery, that inflammation gets in there. Now, I've said many times, literally the cause of almost every disease is inflammation. If you can control the inflammation in the body, now you are in charge of everything. And you have free radical damage that's occurring at the cellular level. Antioxidants can be taken from your food. You don't allow that level of inflammation to get to the next stage, which is oxidation. You start getting that oxidative stress on organs, on everything, you have a lot of problems. So if you can control it at the cellular level, when everything is just simple inflammation, that's what you want to do. So the options there are medication. They call about anti-inflammatory drugs, corticosteroids. But a lot of times inflammation can be controlled just by the diet you're eating. Endocarditis. Again, now we have a different part of the heart. This is the inner lining. And if I get an infection in there, now I start having a lot of problems. In this particular case, they're usually looking at a bacterial infection. Sometimes it's a pre-existing condition that happened who knows when. They treat it with antibiotics, and sometimes they have to treat it with surgery. But it's a treatable issue. Myocarditis. Now we're talking about inflammation in the heart muscle itself. This is more a viral, not a bacterial. Could be an autoimmune option. But a lot of times toxins that we take in our bodies through our foods, through our personal care products, those toxins can have an effect on various organs inside the body. There's medications for it, primarily anti-inflammatory or antiviral kind of medications. Peripheral artery disease. I was surprised one time when my PA I had as a flight physical tested my tested my pulse down by my ankles. And I asked him what it was about, and he explained it. And it's a peripheral artery test. Well, I've been doing it forever and ever and ever. About a year ago, I start looking at it, it's not there. And so I mentioned it to my doctor in the last annual physical. He sent me to a specialist. Sure enough, I have a blockage in my descending arteries into my ankles, my feet. And I'm being monitored for that at this point in time. But causes atherosclerosis, plaque buildup, in my case, Agent Orange from Vietnam. Smoking can cause diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol. Again, we're talking about oxidized cholesterol. Age, always family history. And lifestyle changes can work on that one, but there are other things too, and obviously stop smoking. So with that, I think I am going to wrap up today's show program. My book, Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, a lot of what I talked about today is in there. I can be reached at red.olaughlin@gmail.com. And we will continue on the Heart of Health next week on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And this is Red O'Laughlin signing off. Have a great day. Bye now.